I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast, part of the 90 Min Football Network. As ever, I'm your host, Harry Symeou, and I am delighted to say that I'm joined by a star-studded panel this evening. First up, Dan Potts. How you doing, mate? Welcome back. It's been a while.
It has been a while, man. I had a lovely holiday in Croatia, man, and I've come back to this absolute nonsense that we call Arsenal Football Club, supporting them in the transfer
40
window.
Seconds. 40 seconds.
Let's all get excited. Trust the process. Josh told me to be excited, so I'm buzzing for this transfer window. El Neni signed and Nketiah signed. We're all happy. It's all buzzing, man. But thank you for having me on, bro.
Typical Dan Potts start. Dan, before I forget, mate, because I've got a feeling that we're going to get right into it this evening, and there's probably not going to be any time for sort of niceties and formalities. So let people know about your brand new channel, what you do on it. The link is in the description for those of you that want to go over there and check it out and subscribe. So I thought we'd get this out of the way before we start going at each other. Go on.
You're a legend, bro, because when you said, he ain't got much time to be nice, I thought, what's he going to say here? What is actually going to say here? But no, thank you, my bro. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, the time has come. If you want to hear a lot more from me, there's only been a few videos out. I'm on my way to 2K, so if you can come over and subscribe, it would be amazing. Football's 12th man. It's not just Arsenal content, it's Premier League content. Literally just put out a show before I come on here with Big Steve, Matisse and Tobes from the Big Six, talking about transfers, talking about Bissouma and talking about Jesus and players that, let's be honest, are not going to come to Arsenal no more, so it seems. So if you do want to come and talk over some transfer news, then please head over there now and subscribe. I'd much appreciate it. And Harry, thank you for the plug, man.
You're more than welcome. Make sure you do go and check it out, guys. Also joining us, the queen of the Highbury squad, Sophie Nicolaou, is with us. Sophie, how you doing?
I'm doing epically well, thank you, if that's actually a word. The teacher bottom right corner will tell us. Great. Good to see your faces and really excited for this show. Batten down the hatches, people. I have a feeling if it's anything like our WhatsApp group, it's going to be quite special.
It's going to be spicy, that's for sure. Also joining us is the king of the 8 a.m. shows, the most dedicated Arsenal YouTuber out there, because I am not doing any shows at 8 a.m. For anyone, for love nor money. So, Tom, hats off to you for that, mate. Welcome back. How are you?
Thanks, man. I don't know what's this WhatsApp group. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never done. What is WhatsApp? Never heard of it, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
You and Dan are the biggest culprits in that WhatsApp group.
I am notorious for being the easiest person to bait on earth. So it's just.
I love Canton in a WhatsApp group, man. I love it. I was so pleased.
Well, I'm not in any other than that and my own one.
You know what I love is Harry, is that our time difference is 8 hours. So sometimes these guys are going at it, and I wake up to like 322.5 messages. Which is always enjoyable in the morning when I do my Wordle and then read Dan and Tom go at it.
I never thought I'd hear the sentence of Dan and Tom going at it. I mean, that's something. That's
something I never want to hear again, if I'm honest.
And the thing is, I've got with the WhatsApp groups, right? I'm one of these people that, I admit it, I mute a lot of WhatsApp groups because otherwise I'll do nothing else. It would disturb me every 5 seconds. Different groups, different things going on. But this is one I like to pop in, sort of have a little jab at someone and then get out and then check it back.
Well, someone you mean Dan.
Yeah, normally Dan.
Loves me, really.
All jokes aside, yeah, good to have you all here. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your days for this chat. It's been a while. It's long overdue. And today feels like a difficult day as an Arsenal fan because of some of the reaction we've seen to a player that, let's be honest, Arsenal were never actually in for, moving to Tottenham, supposedly. He's on his way to Tottenham. That's Yves Bissouma of Brighton. I'll come to you first, Tom, because I don't believe that Arsenal were ever in for Yves Bissouma. I think if they wanted him, they would have made their move previously. And I think this is the classic case of the fans want him. And that's been translated in some people's minds to, well, Arsenal must want him. And so we've missed out. What on earth are we doing? First of all, Do you agree? Do you disagree? Were Arsenal ever in the race for Yves Bissouma this summer? And are you disappointed that he's heading to Spurs?
Not this summer, no. There wasn't any chance Arsenal were going to go for him. But we have been interested in Bissouma. The Arsenal have followed Bissouma for a while. But this summer, no. We weren't in for him. He's a very good footballer. Like, there's no debate about that. He's a very good footballer. He's very good at what he does. He's a very good defensive midfielder. I just don't think that the club are looking at defensive midfields as an area that's one of their priorities this summer. Central midfields, this progressive central midfield role that they want, the striker position, a wide forward to replace Pepe when he inevitably moves on, and a versatile fullback, and a goalkeeper that they've already obviously sorted. They were all of the priority positions. But when you've got Partey and Xhaka and Lokonga and El Neni there, whether or not, we agree with wanting some of those players or not, they're there and they're going to be there next season. And you have no strikers, and you have one progressive central midfielder, and you have Tavares as the backup who could leave, at left back, and you have Cedric as the backup right back, who again there's been offers for him, but I feel like he'll stay. But when that's the situation, you can understand why Arsenal aren't going for a 6. If we had the scope to be able to go out and say we're going to bring in the striker that we want, the wide forward we want, arguably 2 forwards that we want, the central midfielder, possibly even another central midfielder to play, in that left-sided central midfield and compete with Ødegaard, a fullback. And then on top of all of that, we can go out and upgrade upon Xhaka. I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong. If you're telling me I can upgrade on a player, I'm not going to say I don't want to do that, because that's ridiculous. But realistically, depending on what we're doing this summer, it's just not a deal that Arsenal were looking at or were going to do. So, yeah.
Let me come to Sophie next, because I know Dan is a massive Bissouma fan, and I know he's going to have a bit of a rant about it. So,
was that Sophie, the new tattoo he got? It was, wasn't it? Is that why he's annoying?
Have you got Bissouma tattooed on your bum, then?
No, it's not on my bum, but I can't tell you where it is tattooed.
Sophie, what's your take on this? Because look, whether we want Bissouma or not, whether that was ever a possibility, as Tom says, I believe that he's right, that especially this summer, it was never really on the cards. But this has kind of sparked and prompted a lot of panic within the Arsenal fan base with regards to the lack of business that we've seen from our club so far. Obviously, the signing of Marquinhos has been done, but it's very clear that is one, perhaps not for the here and now, but more so for the future. How are you feeling in general about the window? And circling back to Bissouma, I guess, are you disappointed that somebody else has been able to pick him up for what looks like a pretty reasonable price?
So a couple of things, the caveat to what I'm going to say is I've been very critical of the owners, and I've also been very critical of Mikel Arteta. And I've said that Edu is on the clock with this transfer window. With that said, how many days has the transfer window been open? 3. Now, I understand that conversations happen prior to that, which I think for a lot of Arsenal fans with no announcement yet, it makes them fear that we're moving slowly again. For some Arsenal fans, they rest on, well, look what we did last summer. We signed players that everyone poo-pooed. They end up being decent and contributed greatly to an evolving team under this Arteta process. I was saying on our show last night that process, becomes progress, but then it also has to be closing. And we're a team that just always does so well and is so nice, and we can't close. So for me, the biggest deal in this transfer window, and I'm not panicking yet, and I will at the end of the window, of course, is that we need to bring in experienced players. We have to evolve this team and build around this young squad, which, by the way, at some point that excuse is going to go out the window too. Yes, they're young, but, Tommy and Ben and, those young players, they're men, they're not boys. The young is, ESR and Saka and Martinelli. But we have to surround them with really good experienced players if we're going to move forward and progress. So for me, I would have loved like a statement signing, and we'll get into kind of some of our players. I don't care if he was rubbish at PSG last season, but I'll give you an example of the quality and the experience I'm talking about. Arsenal announced Wijnaldum. Who's going to be upset with that, right? He was absolutely rubbish at PSG last season, but there's a reason for that. He's 31 years old. He's still quality. Or, first week, this is what Arsenal fans want. Arsenal signed Zinchenko. That's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear about Marquinhos, a player that might go on loan. They don't want to hear that at this point, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. The reason why the sky's falling today is two things. One is they've seen this movie before, so it's the hope that kills you. And the second part is, once again, we're losing our minds over something Tottenham have done. It's the same thing, finishing fourth and missing out on that. If that was Manchester United, yes, we would have been peeved off. Yes, it would have been brutal, but it's because it was Tottenham. You know, Tottenham sign and announcing already, sky's falling. It's because Tottenham are doing it. Manchester United were doing it. I think we'd point the finger a little bit, but because it's them, and in some fans' minds, they're progressing and we're not. I think that's the biggest issue with this point of the transfer window. And the other thing is fans want players in before the summer tour. And, you know, I think they have every right to feel that way.
Dan, let's come to you. I know you had your heart set on Yves Bissouma as a player that you've liked for a while. You've always said throughout the duration of us two speaking and knowing each other that you'd like to see him in Arsenal's midfield. How much of your disappointment, though, is based on the fact that you like the player as opposed to the overall window? Because as Sophie says, we're only 3 or 4 days in, right?
Yeah, you're bang on, and Sophie's bang on as well. And I'm not having a huge meltdown about it because actually I think I'm done with that now. Tottenham aren't doing anything that I didn't expect them to do. I told everybody this was going to happen. They've got the guy in, they're going to back him, and trust me, they're going to get players in. And although people might look and laugh at some of the players they've got in, like Perisic is done and he's wasted, and Fraser Forster's old and he's hardly going to play, I disagree with it because I think both of the signings are good. I think Perisic is a player that over in Serie A has come in and done will do very, very well. He's a player that's hardly ever injured. I think he'll fit the system. He's a workhorse, and his mentality is that he wants to win. And it's a signing that is, we want to win now. He doesn't want to win in 5 years. Conte wants to win now, and that's a signing that's going to allow that to at least be something realistic for them to either bring a trophy in at the club or do what they can, which would be a madness for them to put a title challenge in or a Champions League win. So for me, when I look at signings like that, that worries me. The reason Bissouma worries me is because he's a player that I've liked, that's Premier League proven, that has all the attributes I believe we need in our Arsenal midfield, and I think it's a player that will definitely upgrade and strengthen Spurs. And when it's a player that I've liked for a few seasons and he goes down them lot down the road, that's why it sucks even more for me. So I think that's what it is. When it's Tottenham, when it's Man United, it still hurts, but when it's somebody like Everton, when it's somebody like Newcastle even, who've got lots of money, Villa, I don't actually think I'd be hating it as much. It's just because he's gone to them and he will improve them. I think that's why it sucked big time. When it comes to what we're doing and why I hate it is because what Tottenham are doing is everything that I want us to do, basically, at the moment. And people laugh because they haven't won anything. But trust me, I believe Conte will win Tottenham something. I think he's the best thing that could happen to them in decades. Said it for a long time. As soon as he got in there, I said, this is the guy we should have got. I would have gone for Tuchel, but as soon as Conte come about, I was like, we need to get this guy in, and everybody said we had no chance. Then when he went to Tottenham, everybody went very quiet and thought, oh, actually, yeah, he could have come to us. But we're still trusting the process, and we're still buying 19-year-old players from Brazil no one's heard of, while they're going in and getting the Perisic's linked with the Bastonis and the Ericssons. And at least if they don't get them, they're linked with the right players that I think could go and push them forward. Now, the window is very young. I like the Tielemans link. I would take Gabi Jesus, although I think he'll be wearing a Chelsea shirt, if you ask me honestly, next season. I think what we want to see is what Tottenham are doing, and that's what's frustrating, is they're getting the players in now, and every single one of them, in my opinion, is going to be an upgrade at least on what they've already got. And I think that's the biggest frustration for Arsenal fans right now. I want to be seen as going to the top, and I demand the best and always have done, and that's why I'm going to lay off the Mikel Arteta stuff now, because I've done that enough, and I'm going to the ownership. Because for me, if you're keeping this guy in the job when he's come 8th, 8th and 5th and underachieved every season, I can't have it as an ownership anymore, and I can't trust behind it. So if he's going to get backed in the summer and Kroenke's going to throw a load of money at it and we still underperform, I'm looking at him, not Mikel, and saying, why? What did you expect? This guy's been here too long and he ain't taking us to the place that you think he's going to. So I'm coming for Stan Kroenke if things don't go right, mate.
Sophie, on the Stan Kroenke thing, right? Every time a transfer window comes along and we don't do what we'd like to see the club do from a fan's perspective, or when a season ends disappointingly, the first thing that we always point to is Stan Kroenke, and we point to the ownership and we talk about the problems that stem from there. Mm-hmm. But it's also a problem that they have the ability to make go away, isn't it? For a little while at least. Like, we talk about what Spurs are doing, and everybody's kind of getting carried away with Spurs, in my opinion, because as much as I think they're making the right moves, they're making the right moves for the here and now, and that's fine. But I don't think that you can have sustained success on such an unstable platform. And Antonio Conte at Spurs is unstable for me. I mean, I'm willing to bet with anybody that I don't think he'll be there more than another 12 months. Like,
I think he becomes unstable, but he wins you stuff before that instability comes. It's, you know, it's taken from the same chapter of the book of management with Jose Mourinho. Not saying they're exactly the same, but you get something for a while and then it all goes, you know, Pete Tong, and then it leaves debris that someone else coming in has to fix. Our club had stability for so long, and then for the last 10 years of Wenger, you could say we had instability on the pitch. We had stability in terms of, you know, how they ran the club financially. But at the same time, we did a show last night. We were talking about why we can't go out and buy certain players. You know, why we have, you know, what's our net spend? What's our debt? You know, look at the terrible deals and contracts we've done. We haven't even, with the last player we sold for over 20 million was Joe Willock to Newcastle. Before that, the best deal we probably did was Iwobi to Everton. You know, these are the fundamental business components that ownership should manage better. And they've hired wrong people and they've hired novices, and you see that. But it also was inherited from some bad things Gazidis did from a business perspective. Now you're at this position. But when you have the power the Cronkies do to change something, and you said it at the end there, Harry, change something, they have the means to change it. They're just not willing to pump in their own money the way that Arsenal fans want and have seen other ownership do that. It's just not their model. It doesn't make it right? No. Does it make it wrong? Yes, in so many regards. So this is the window for me that if they truly want to back up this crap PR that they feed us all the time about ambition and be excited, this is the window to do it in. You need a goal scorer. Go get a goal scorer. Spend the money. You know, and Kev was talking to me about financial fair play yesterday, and I almost laughed because I was like, wow, they're pointing the finger at us because of FFP. And look at all the teams that have gotten away with it for so long. But when you cook the books, you know, the numbers don't lie. Not cook the books, but when you see the books, the numbers don't lie. But this is the window to do it in. If we don't, we fall further down the pegging. I think finishing fourth is going to be tougher this season than it was last season. But don't go out and sell me marquee. I don't care. I'm sorry, guys. You can come at me. I give zeros that this guy signed. I don't know anything about him. I haven't seen him play. I'm not saying he's not talented, but people keep saying, oh, the next Martinelli or whatever. How long did it take Martinelli to get into the first team? We were crying out for him, but it was a process. Lokonga wasn't ready. Tavares wasn't ready. The time for buying potential is over. The time to invest in what you know is the now.
Facts. Nice facts. I just want to comment on the back of what you're saying, Soph, because I think a lot of people watching this will think, oh my God, Bissouma signed for Tottenham, and Arsenal fans are crying about it. Actually, it's got nothing to do with that, because we've been saying this for a long time. Well, I've been saying this for a long time. I know Sophie has as well. And if you look at the window and the windows, it's always the next window. Let's see what happens in the next window. Let's see what happens in the next window. We'll have a window in the summer. We'll have a few bad results, and everyone will say, let's see what happens in January. And then it will go, let's see what happens in the summer. I've had enough of windows. I've had enough of this. I want to see what we are about progression-wise. And I need to see that Mikel Arteta and Edu and Vina and all these people have looked at what we've not done so far and then go and change the way they look at things, because it hasn't worked today. I can think of what 3 signings I look at and go, cool, yeah, I'll take that. Gabriel, Partey when he's fit. Maybe Tomiyasu, Odegaard. Yeah, he's quite a pretty footballer. Wouldn't mind him scoring a goal or two. Would be quite nice. Ramsdale needs to keep his head. I actually quite like him, but he needs to keep his head calm. Otherwise, it's been trash. Tavares, Lokonga, Ceballos, Willian, Runnison, Cedric, Marie. Oh, come on, man. The list goes on how poor some of them have been. So now I need to go and see what you've not done right, and go and prove that you actually want to go and get someone that can improve and upgrade us. And I believe some of the players we're linked with, Tielemans would do that. I think Gabriel Jesus would do that. So if I start to see those players and we put in an ambitious bid for somebody like Osimhen or Tammy Abraham or whoever it is that everybody wants in the chat, the Bissouma thing's gone now. So if we go and put in a link for the Ruben Neveses of this world, whoever it be, I would like to think that would at least give me some hope that we're going down a different route. I don't want to see any more Marquinhos coming in, man. Like, we've done that. That's enough. We've got the Patinos and people like that coming through behind us. I don't want any more of them, man.
But the thing with Marquinhos, with that signing, right, is that, and I'll come to you, Tom, is that isn't the marquee signing this summer, we hope, right? I'd be shocked if that was the most high profile signing we've made, because it isn't high profile at all. But we can't be like it doesn't mean that because we haven't seen Tielemans come yet, or we haven't seen a deal done for Gabriel Jesus yet, or anybody of a high profile, that we should almost rubbish the signing of Marquinhos. Because if that happened in between two big signings, the outlook on it would be very different. And it's important, I think, not to let our emotions sort of overshadow the fact that the club are clearly trying to recruit players that are going to have a sell-on value in the future, or are going to be super important for the team moving forward. And that is kind of going back to basics. And we kind of stopped doing that for a while. And I feel like we are building properly, and it's going to take time. Okay. And as we were saying on the show we did earlier today with Mike Stavrou, like, Arsenal have to do a hell of a lot more convincing to sign a player than Liverpool do nowadays, than Manchester City do, because we're not dining at the top table. And you can say it's accepting mediocrity and it's this and it's that and it's accepting failure. It's understanding the current landscape and the fact that we are not as appealing a prospect as we once were. So now we have to work that little bit harder. And now we're not at the front of the queue for these players. Dan, you're shaking your head, mate, but it's the truth. It is the truth, though. Is it not the truth?
Man, ask yourself why that's happened, though, Harry. This is the problem.
But this is the point. It's not happened overnight. It's happened over a decade. It's been going on for ages. And to expect the damage of a decade to be repaired in 2-3 seasons is just totally unrealistic.
Yeah, but then with the same token, you guys credit Arteta and Adu for bringing in Partey in this state, and you know, all these other players, and then Emery got credited for bringing in, you know, his players, even though he could only dangle Europa League football. We were able to bring in Lacazette, Aubameyang. You know, if you look at the landscape, Gabriel, Tierney,
they came in under Arsene Wenger,
Partey.
though.
Yeah, but they came in at a time where we were broken. So this broken notion is rubbish. It's about what you offer. If we had Champions League football, we would be in the running with the same type of players, except we're not willing to pay those prices. It's a choice. It's not because we can't. We choose not to. Wenger chose not to. Emery wasn't allowed to. Arteta desperately wants to, but he's quickly finding out that he works in a nickel and dime store. And so that's the reality.
Do we actually think that Arsene Wenger used to go to bed at night dreaming of the Nilsons and Nicholas Bentners, as opposed to actually being able to go out and bring in the top players?
How many times are we going to read Arsene Wenger tell us that he could have signed Benzema, he could have signed Ronaldo, he could have signed this, he could have signed that? If I read that one more time, I might throw up. Stop telling us what you could have done. It's what you should have done. You whiffed on all of this. You had all the power. You chose not to deal with certain agents. You chose to offer 40 plus £1 for Suarez, which destroyed our reputation in the transfer market. Look at our dealings then. And then it became one marquee player a season because we won FA Cups and they put Band-Aids on that. And they told us that these are the teams that can challenge for the Premier League. So then we give you Alexis Sanchez, we give you Ozil, we give you Santi Cazorla, but you don't back that up with other players to support such great talent. You silenced fans by offering and dangling a carrot, but you never delivered the salad.
And you know what's funny is Arsene Wenger, as much as we're slating some of the stuff he did, would have walked this team into top 4 this season. We are going so backwards. It's
I'm not
unbelievable.
criticising his
so
like.
No, I'm not. I know
you're
not so far. I'm just saying
we wanted Emery out. Criticism.
No, 100%. We wanted Wenger gone. We wanted Emery gone, and so did I. But why did we not want this guy gone when he's doing a worse job? I just don't get this. He's doing a worse job than Wenger. In my opinion, he's doing a worse job than Unai Emery. And all of a sudden, we're now saying, let's have another window. Let's have another window. Let's have another window. I just can't see it.
I just think that's factually untrue, though, Dan, because, I mean, if you consider the reason why so many of us campaigned, did podcasts, some people went to protest to get Wenger out, it's because we were on the slide. It's because we were going backwards. And
from what, though, Tom? From what, though?
Let me finish the point. We were sliding away, falling away from what we wanted to be at. And when Unai Emery came in, the slide continued. He left the club when we were in 8th, and by the time Arteta took over, we were in 11th. And so it's going to take time before that then starts to arrest. And last season, we've got genuine, tangible evidence that upturn has begun. None of us, if I'd have gone and watched both of your preview shows from the start of that season, none of us had us down to be in that top 4 race last year. And the credit goes to what we did in the market, and the credit goes into what we did on the pitch, because you still have to earn that place. You can't just point to other teams and say, oh, these teams weren't at it this season, because you've still got to be at it and you've still got to do it. And at the end of the day, I can't disagree with anything you said there, Soph, because I've been critical of how we have worked in the market for the last decade up until Arteta. It's something I'm vehemently passionate about, how we've changed what we're doing. But I also can't. There is a hypocrisy about criticising what we're doing in the market right now when we're criticising the fact that we can't sell our players. We're criticising the fact that we're having to give players away, that no one wants us. The reason why we're having to do what we're doing in the market alongside trying to improve the squad is so that in the future, we aren't still complaining about selling crap and selling rubbish and giving players away. And we've got to balance that. And the whole recruitment team, including Arteta and Edu, has got to balance that now of trying to get a squad that can compete and go forwards. But at the same time, doesn't have people like ourselves in a few years' time, again, going, we're giving away crap again and we're cancelling contracts. We can't keep doing that. And so you have to find the balance.
I supported the summer transfer window. I was answering Harry's question about in terms of, when he said, are you telling me Wenger couldn't do this and that?
No, I agree with what you said. That
part, right. Okay, so I'm in agreement about this transfer market, though, is so important that if we do not buy, people, you mentioned Perisic, the reason I've mentioned Wijnaldum, these are experienced players who can come in and have an immediate impact, not only on the pitch, but they can also be huge in the dressing room. Because why? Mentally, we're weak sauce. We still have mental impotence.
Why didn't Willian work then, out of interest, do you think?
Because I was literally just going to say
that. Okay, everyone brings up Willian. One example of a player who came, by the way, that everyone was excited about when he joined from Chelsea because we'd seen his quality. The truth is, the player did not want to be at Arsenal. The money was the attraction. The shirt was never. Facts. Moving across London was not. He was heartbroken about it. He never fit in. He never wanted to be there. And Kevin will always say, if you have a player who's just not there mentally, he's not there at all. That's why Willian. Okay.
Petr Cech,
you can't.
Willian could have quite easily just sat.
David Luiz was great for. Are you kidding me? David Luiz may have made a couple of mistakes, but he was actually a saviour at times in a back line that was absolutely rubbish. And in the end, I think, he did decently. I'm not saying these players are bad,
so the point I'm making is that, Arteta renewed David Luiz's contract. They made decisions to keep those types of players, then went and got Willian, that was the next player. Yes, he didn't necessarily.
Willian can't be the stick that we beat this conversation with, because it's one example and of a player that just didn't want to be there. That's why he never worked out. The problem that we have is we're snobs, right? Just because Willian didn't work out doesn't mean that Wijnaldum can't work out. I was begging Arsenal to sign Zlatan for 1 year after he left LA Galaxy. Look at Cavani initially at Manchester United, what he did. There's players around.
I've been calling for Gundogan as well.
I'm going to tell you guys something. I might lose the conversation right here altogether. But when I put my list together, I added a player to it because I thought to myself, we never replaced him. We never have an option or plan B when we need just a goal in a game. We never have someone who can graft. Most underappreciated, underrated player in the history of the Premier League, let alone at Arsenal. Won everything, just won the Scudetto. I would pay $3 million and bring Giroud back for one season. Why? Because why not? What do we have to lose at this point? He can be a great player in the dressing room. He's won the World Cup. He's won at the highest level. He's won the Champions League, Europa League since he left the club. He can come on and get a goal when we need it. He can play in the early stages of the Europa League. That's the kind of player. I'm not saying sign all players like him.
He wouldn't why come, not? Why would you leave AC Milan right now?
I know. I'm giving you an example.
I know. I'm just
giving you an example of a player that I think we should be looking at in order to enhance our mental strength and not be mental.
It's not Project
Youth,
though. So it's not Project Youth. So it won't come.
No, but this is the thing. It's not about Project Youth. Like Edu literally sat down in front of the cameras and outlined that the first phase
in front of the cameras. Key phrase in front of the cameras.
Of course, there's PR involved. Like, so if you've worked in PR, you know what it's all about better than any of us. PR is part and parcel of the job. In any business where there are so many stakeholders, like there are Arsenal fans, you have to do PR, and you have to do it well. And he sat down and he said to us that the first phase was last summer. Look at how much the team is going to improve when everybody comes back and everybody's available. And when they came back, the team dramatically improved and went on to achieve, as Tom says, way more than anybody on this panel thought they were capable of. So they went, and so that came right. That was proved right. That was proved correct. He then said that in the following window, we'd probably look to add maybe less players, but players of a higher quality and of more experience who can come in and take the team to the next level. And we're 4 days into the window, and okay, it hasn't happened yet. But as you both rightly said, everybody on this panel doesn't think that we should be panicking and pressing the panic button today. So let's give it a chance and see what happens. And if we're having this conversation in the middle of August, then it's a completely different story. But today, you know, they haven't broken a promise yet. So it just feels to me like there's always a reason, or people are looking for reasons to go after the club at the moment. And I think the Chronicles' ownership has been poor overall. I've said it many, many times. I've accused them of being passive owners, because that's what I think they are. I think they're owners that have us as a side project. And, you know, we're not the priority. And so the love hasn't been given. The attention hasn't been given. I agree with you that they have the resource to change things and to change it quickly, but they're not going to do it. So we're kind of in between a rock and a hard place at the moment. But I find it impossible to jump on something that hasn't failed yet. Like, we haven't not gone out. We did fail,
Harry. We failed to capitalize on a position that was an improbable situation. We earned the right to be there, and we failed in closing the deal.
Why did we fail?
We failed because we made fundamental mistakes in our management, and we decided to stick to whatever the summer transfer plan was last season going into January. We're not the gambling type of club. We should have thrown and rolled the dice in the January transfer window, the same way Spurs did when and got two players who everybody was laughing at them, by the way, when they came from Juventus, saying, oh, they can't even get into the first team in Serie A, changed the trajectory of their top four, you know, destiny. And Newcastle signed Chris Wood, Trippier and Bruno and survived relegation. So don't tell me bringing in players in January couldn't have helped us or made a difference and showed the ambition of Arsenal that, yes, this was plan A.
There's no one available,
you know what?
Soph.
Here we are. No, yeah, of course, there was no one available. Now you're making me sound like I'm complaining about the club, but you're lobbing some balls that require this, the question of, you know, what type of club are we strategically, mentally? You know, we're an image of what we are on the pitch. You know, we do some things well. We don't have any mental stability. You know, we go in and out of things. And you can talk all you like about what Arteta and Edu have done. I agree. It was a great transfer window last summer. But we failed in the moment to capitalize on being able to elevate the game a little bit. And they're culpable for that.
I think when you look at the reasons that Tottenham finished in the top four, it's largely down to Kane and Son. I think way too much is.
But they have those players. That's a moot point.
Exactly.
They play for Tottenham.
Exactly. They've got two world-class players. And they've got a world-class manager. And we've decided to go down a different route.
Yeah, as for the North London Derby for the run-in, though, that's when he was fit.
Yeah, which we should have played them in January because we'd have lost
anyway.
I'm
not going to disagree with you there, Sophie. I will hold my hands up and say I'll change my mind on that one. We should have played them then. We should have played them then.
All I'm saying is that because of all the shit that's happened at Arsenal over the last decade, as we've been saying, I don't think we can roll the dice if we want to get out of this. Like, in order to kind of fix the problems at Arsenal, I do think you have to strip it right back and you have to make sure that the foundations are right. You know, because what Tottenham are doing now, yeah, great. They're in the Champions League. Are they going to be competitive in the Champions League?
It doesn't matter, Harry. They're there, and what it helps and does, and the players it attracts, it makes a massive difference.
It attracts a midfielder from Brighton, a right back from Nottingham Forest.
They're not done yet. Hold on, they're not done yet. And the point is the money they got Bissouma for.
We're not done yet.
Okay, Bissouma on the side, right? I'm not talking about his off the field issues, but the money they paid for an asset like that is insane in today's market. That's brilliant business by them. Now, the point is fiscally, it's going to help the club. So you can say, well, who are they going to attract? But yes, and the window's not over for either of us. But if you could go to Tottenham and play for Antonio Conte in the Champions League, or go to Arsenal and play for Arteta and be unsure of what, of being a part of a young team, and you're a more experienced player, I guarantee you which way a lot of players are going to go.
Well, we might
this delusion about this Kane and Son thing just has to stop for me now, mate.
Why is it delusion, Dan? They're two world-class players.
Because was Nuno Espirito Santos going to get Tottenham into the top 4 with Kane and Son fit? The answer is no.
Manchester City,
right? The answer is no, right? So when you look at what Conte has done, the reason Tottenham got top 4 is because they had Kane and Son, and they've got an elite manager. That's the reason. It's nothing to do with Kane and Son are the reason Tottenham are in the top 4.
Sorry,
nothing to do with it.
I'm sorry, Dan. How can it be nothing when Arsenal have no world-class players?
How long have they been there? How long have Kane and Son been there? Are they in the Champions League spots every single year? They're not.
No, they're not. But you've just talked about the managerial side.
So it's been proven that it's not just Kane and Son. There's the managerial side as well. So Conte has come in and he's got Kane and Son and Tottenham into the Champions League because he's an elite manager.
Me and Carrie aren't saying that Conte is nothing to do with the reason we're the top 4.
Just said
we are saying
you have done before. You have done before, though.
Are the primary reason? No, we haven't. We haven't said that it's nothing to do with Conte. We've said that the primary reason.
So what's the point of bringing the argument up then? Because my argument was that Conte's come in and he's got Kane and Son firing, so they're now in the top 4. And weeks ago, you and lead judges as well, to be fair to him, and Harry said, "Nah, it ain't that. It's Kane and Son. It's nothing to do with Conte. It's Kane and Son."
We're not saying it's nothing to do with Conte. Nobody ever said it was nothing.
No, you did. Go back and find the clip.
You did.
No,
I will.
Primarily, you guys did say that it's Kane and Son.
Yeah, because
primarily,
I think they're a massive part of it. Absolutely. I think they're probably a bigger part of it than Antonio Conte. But that doesn't mean Antonio Conte plays no part in it. Antonio Conte has gone back to basics. He's recognized that he doesn't have top quality in certain areas of the park. He switched it to the back 3, the system that he likes to play with. He's given them additional stability. He's made the most of what he has at his disposal. But ultimately, he's got 2 world-class forwards that have been difference makers in games and got Tottenham over the line.
And Harry, can we agree that, you have to also agree that their business in January elevated even both 100%. Of those players and the entire team to go on a run and finish in 4th place?
I agree that their business in January helped. But I don't think it was as impactful as the impact that Kane and Son had, is the point that I made.
We're talking about finishing top 4.
Yeah, and I don't think, to be honest, the January
would they have
business
done
for
it
them
in January? Would they have done it without the January business?
Wasn't as impactful for them as the injuries to Partey, Tomiyasu, and Tierney were for at the end of the season.
But they finished 4th. I'm talking about business in January. I'm talking about who bought and who didn't and how it helped. We didn't. We missed out. They did. It helped them.
And regardless they lost no players in their running. None at all. We lost our best player and our 2 starting fullbacks. We had our best players
when we were in a run of form, and we went in
January.
Ahead of them.
And we were ahead of them.
And we had a terrible January, and then we lost Partey.
We stayed ahead of them.
We did, but we choked.
Because we lost our best players.
We did nothing about it, though. We lost our best players and did nothing about it in January.
When those players were injured, what happened? We exposed an innocent Lokonga in midfield who got absolutely ripped to shreds because the manager decided to play Xhaka at left back. We had no resources. I'm not talking about going out and buying marquee players with sexy names on their back. Go out and get players. So if those situations happen, 2 players, by the way, that are injury prone and you don't do it, that's on them.
We know all this, man.
I can't agree that it's on them in its entirety. I'm not going to sit here and say that Arteta is absolved of all blame. And I think that sometimes when we bring up our points, it's very easy to misconstrue that the one point we're bringing up is the sole reason. It's not. It's like when we discussed the Kane and Son and Conte thing. That when I say that injuries cost us, I'm not saying that Arteta using Xhaka against Brighton at left back didn't contribute. I'm not saying that us not using Tomiyasu at right back against Spurs didn't contribute. It did. I'm not absolving Arteta of all blame. It's just my view that had Partey, Tomiyasu, Tierney been there, or just 2 of those 3 been there for the last 10 games of the season or after the international break, it is my passionate view that we would have got top 4 and we wouldn't be talking about this.
And the other thing as well to note is that going coming out of January when the window closed, we won 6 of our 7 Premier League games, and nobody was saying a word about the lack of business in January. And it's very easy to then go back and say, "Oh, that was a problem."
I think Arsenal
anybody,
fans were very vocal about January.
Not on that run of 6 wins, and the only defeat was against Liverpool. Nobody was saying a word about it.
Maybe we were reading the different newspapers or social media threads, but when we didn't sign anyone in January.
When we were forget January,
football,
after January,
but you're happy as a fan. But there are still fans that are smartly critical and sensible about how they criticize the team. There are a lot of fans that said, "Look, watch, we'll go on a run, we'll win 3 or 4 games, and then we'll lose 3."
Let me ask you another question. Did anybody here ask for a fullback in January? Not a single person.
I've been begging
but we were
for
missing
us
our 2 fullbacks. It just goes to show you can't always foresee everything. That's the point here.
I didn't ask for one because I thought we had one, but we gave him on Roma on loan.
Come on, is not the answer.
No, but how long have we been saying that Tierney's injury prone?
Cedric was fine for so long. It's just when you lose both starting fullbacks, if you got Maitland-Niles or Cedric, they're going to get exposed. When you've got, we've got Tomiyasu and Tierney that we know are significantly ahead of those 2 players. We can all admit that. When you lose both your start, Chelsea were touted as title challengers for this season. They lost Ben Chilwell for the entire campaign, and they lost Reece James for a lot of the season. All of a sudden, they fell away from their title challenge. You lose your starting fullbacks, no matter if you're Chelsea, City, or whoever, you are losing what your ambition is, because it is such a crucial position in the side, especially when you're going into the run-in with 3, 5, whatever points ahead of your rivals. Go on, Harry.
Let me just hit the pause button quickly because we've got a couple of super chats and I don't want them to disappear.
Really?
Big thank you to Ayathuka, who says Sophie is right, but we still have some kind of faith that the ownership will change even after 10 years, and getting emotional for nothing is a waste. We got a second super chat from the same person. Thank you so much. Says it will be interesting to see this same panel 3 years from now and where Arsenal and Arteta are and what opinions we'll have.
We would have blocked each other by then. That's not happening.
We'll still be arguing about something. But okay, we've talked about the past and the problems and what's gone wrong and all of that.
We still love each other, chat, by the way.
We do. Listen, we might disagree on a lot of stuff, but I've got a lot of respect for the 3 people here on the panel. Sophie, let's come to you first. Okay, what would a good window look like for you? And we kind of set like a make-believe transfer budget, didn't we, of around about 120 million based on some internet valuations, because I wanted it to be realistic. Like, I so often have this conversation with people and they list off names that we're not going to get anywhere near. So what would a good window look like for you in terms of the players you've identified? And we can see if we disagree on that.
Okay, shall I just read them all out? And then, this is what I would do if I was a do. My first signing announcing would be Zinchenko, 28 million. My second signing would be Hickey, 20 million. My third signing would send a little bit of a rocket down the Arsenal fandom because it would be one of those coming out of left field. But I would actually I would sell Kieran Tierney to Newcastle for 45 million. I would bring in Zinchenko. I would bring in Hickey. But as the starter at left back, and I'd promise him a great future, is Tsimikas from Liverpool. That's what I would do.
You're like reverse Southgate at this point.
Okay, real quick, I'll bust these out. Livramento, I think we could get him at a good price, even though he's coming off a long injury. I really like him. Another versatile player. Jonathan David would be my striker. He's been absolutely integral to Canada qualifying for the World Cup. He's had an amazing season. I don't think we should let the Lille thing turn us off at all. He's good value for 22 years old. Made 38 appearances, scored 15 goals this season. I would bring in Wijnaldum as a player to have in the squad. I'd keep an eye on Tyler Adams, Tammy Abraham, and Nathan Aki as well. That is my names, my people for the transfers.
Now, what do you think we're going to do?
Well, I think, why can't we sign Zinchenko if you can convince him to just be in Europa League for one season, if you're going to build a team that can truly challenge and win the Europa League? I think I don't mind Jesus coming in. I would just choose another player over him. But if he comes in, I'll be more than happy, be super stoked because he's much better than what we have right now and can certainly deliver. Tielemans, I think, would be a great addition to the squad. I think two of our most important positions that I think people have downgraded and down-talked a little bit is cover for right back and cover for left back. You've got Saliba coming back. And yeah, Tomiyasu and Ben White can cover in those positions. But, that's why I mentioned the players that I did. So I think it's realistic. I don't think I've put anyone on there that Arsenal shouldn't show and have the ambition to sign. I didn't add Alphonso Davies. I didn't put in Lewandowski. I didn't put in Fabian Ruiz. I didn't put in, if it was down to me, I would sign these players. But I think I've put together a realistic list.
I think with the Zinchenko thing for me, right, one of the things I've got a colleague that I work with over at 90 Min who's literally a transfer correspondent. All he does is sort of tap into people and get lines on information, very well connected with certain clubs and speaks a lot of stuff in particular about the clubs up in the northwest and in the northeast and stuff. And one of the things he said about Zinchenko was that in order to kind of get him away from Manchester City, somebody's going to have to convince him that he's got a role in midfield to play, because that's ultimately what he wants to do. Now, I don't know about you guys, but 50% of the appeal for Zinchenko for me is that he can play left back as well. And I wonder if he insists that he wants to play in the midfield only, then he's not as appealing a prospect to me as he would have been if he could fill both of those positions. Now, I don't know that for a fact. That's just what I've heard and stuff. But do you guys agree that Zinchenko, as a versatile player who can cover a number of roles, is a much more appealing prospect than Zinchenko, the centre midfielder?
I actually disagree. I really like Zinchenko as a player. He was on my list. Technically, when you watch him for Ukraine, this is a really, really solid midfielder. I think he offers so much going forwards and going backwards. I think he links the play really, really well. I think he's direct when he's given the opportunity to play in midfield as well. I know where you're coming from, Harry. I really do, because obviously we think of him so naturally as, the bit part player for Man City, Pep Guardiola's utility man. I know that's, the stigma I think that gets set by him, but no, I like him a lot, and I think that his technical ability is of a level at 25 that he could, if given responsibility in the Xhaka role, which, in a season's time when Xhaka maybe isn't here anymore, I think would actually elevate that position with his movement, with his versatility, with his progression, with his mentality. This is a guy playing in the Ukrainian national side with the mentality is mad, being in both those teams in Man City and Ukraine, and I believe is their captain. I think Sophie, you might be able to tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he is their captain. But I love the kid. I think he'd be great.
Don't get me wrong, I like him, and I'd be happy with the signing. But if he was to come and say, I don't want to play at left back, that would, if I were a manager trying to sign him, that would kind of put me off, because but a lot of the reason why he's a good option for me is not just because he's a good midfielder, but because he can do that as well. Dan, let's come to you, mate. Let's get your thoughts on
Bissouma.
Good window looks like. Actually, before you do that, Dan, 1 second. If you guys could please smash the like button, it would be very, very much appreciated, because there's over 600 of you with us at the moment, and I think we've got about 100 likes. Let's try and get that up to 250, 300, and make sure you subscribe to everybody's channels. All the links are in the description, so please do get involved. Go on, Dan, take it away, mate.
Fair play, man. What I think we'll get and what I think we need are two very different things, if I'm honest with you. I think we need to go all out big this summer for the pure fact that we were getting rid of players even as recent as January, so that we could try and have this big summer and clear the wage bill down, etc. So I'm expecting us to spend a lot of money. The rumours are that it's going to be between sort of over 100 to 200. I'm not sure how true it is. You guys will know more than me. I expect it to be a very similar summer to the one that we had previously, where 6 players came in, and I expect that roughly to be the number of players that we get in, because I think that's what we need to try and compete, with what I think is going to be a very difficult top 4 challenge because of reasons that everybody knows about, and I'm not going to go into again. Who would I like to get? I'd like to challenge Tottenham, if the rumours are true, for Jed Spence. I think the kid looks like he'll be a really good talent, and he's definitely good cover for Tomiyasu, and I think he'd be happy to come in at the Arsenal and try and challenge for that position. The other player I've always liked in that position, 2 players, Max Aarons and Lamptey, that I would like to try and put a bid in for. But again, I think there'll probably be a lot of money, and I'm not so sure that that's too realistic. But Jed Spence would be one to come in. At left back, I'm with Sophie. I like the sound of Aaron Hickey, and I really like Kieran Tierney, and I just hope that he could keep fit. If he wasn't made of glass, I think he'd be exceptional. And we see what happens when he's out of this team. We are just completely different, and he needs to be fit. I am very good friends with a lad who is Scottish and is always watching Scotland, and he says this kid actually does look really good. So he's a big fan of his and says that it would be a really good signing for Arsenal. Saliba, bring him back, please. I hope he does come in, because that will be someone who definitely improves us at the back. I think he can rival Ben White 100%, because I'm sure he's out with me with Ben White. Now that it's not Bissouma, I'm going for Neves and Tielemans. I wanted Bissouma and Tielemans. I'll go Neves and Tielemans now. I think they're both Premier League proven. I think they're at the right age, and I think they've shown enough quality, in my opinion, to take us forward. And then up top is where the surgery's needed, I think. And I'd love to see Tammy Abraham coming in. I really would. I think it's going to be a lot of money, though. So whatever we do up top is going to cost us a lot. So this is what I want, not what I think will happen. I'd like to see Jesus come in, because I think he can play in a few positions. And again, is Premier League proven. And I think that although he's probably not a prolific striker, he's got the right mentality and work rate. So I'd love to see him come in with Tammy Abraham. And there's something in the back of my mind that just would love us to go in for either Rafinha or Gnabry on that right-hand side, because I don't think Marquinhos is the guy to come in and take Pepe's place if Pepe does go. So there's a lot of people that will say, that's a lot of players there. It's a lot of players. Yeah, that is a lot of players. That is what we need. If we want to compete, that's what we need. Getting Jesus and Tielemans is going to do nothing. Trust me, we need much more than that. So what do I think is going to happen? I think it will be Jesus and Nketiah as our front line. That will be it. Can't see anybody else realistically coming in. I think Tielemans will come in. And I think the rest will just be backup players like Hickey and a backup right back. I think that'll be it.
Tom, before I come to you, 1 second, mate, I've got a couple more super chats.
No worries,
I just want to quickly address, because otherwise I lose them. Rich says, Rich for a day says Spurs were missing Doherty, Romero and Reguilon. I think that was in response to when we were talking earlier about sort of missing players in the business end of the season. Fort Lauderdale, I can never say that. Fort Lauderdale, Gooner Craig says, this is legit the best debate I've seen in a long time. Also, this is a down payment on a plate from Harry's barbecue. Yes, I was barbecuing again today. It's got to be done. The sun's out. Why not? Why not? Why not?
Sun's out. Why not? It's raining. Why not?
Sun's out. Sun's out. I went in the house this afternoon, and my missus goes to me, do you know what? I've been out all day. I haven't even thought about dinner today. What do you fancy eating? I was like, barbecue. And she goes, what? She goes, have you got all the stuff? And I was like, of course I have. What kind of question is this? I've got a stock of charcoal. I've got it all, mate. What's going on? Sorry, one more super chat, and then I'll come to you, Tom. This one is from Joseph, who says, guys, honestly, we're literally just 4 days into the window. Please, let's wait and see what happens come August. Bissouma, by the way, is inferior to Partey, in my opinion. Tom, let's have yours.
Yeah, I only actually went for one defender. He will be a left back though, so Sophie will be thrilled about that. In Zinchenko, I've gone for, as I've already explained, I don't need to go into more detail, but yeah, I think he'd be a great addition to the group. Tielemans I've gone for. And then I kind of look into the forward line with Jesus. I said Scamacca because I just think that, I would obviously love Tammy Abraham, but I just don't think realistically Jesus and Tammy's price tags, they take all our budget. Just those two on their own, I think would. I'd love to see it be Tammy, and I agree with Dan that he's definitely the right pick of the strikers I think that we could go for. But Scamacca is a cheaper option and also gives you something different in the forward line as well. And in terms of the wide player, I'd go for Cody Gakpo. I like the guy's power. I love his creation. I love his goal scoring. I love his directness of his runs into the box. He really gets involved with the plan. Isn't selfish at all either, and can create plenty. Over 30 goal contributions this season for PSV. Really, really strong player, and he's like 6'3" and a winger, so it gives you a bit more power and something different as well in the wide area that we haven't had in the past. So yeah, only the one defender in Zinchenko obviously can play midfield. I don't think Tavares will go anywhere. That's why I didn't choose him. I don't think he will end up going. If he does, though, I agree with the guys that Aaron Hickey would be a good choice to come in as a potential replacement. Tielemans in midfield. If you wanted to press me, I did say maybe grabbing Corentin Tolisso on a free after he leaves Bayern Munich this summer as a possible, just to grab him on a free. But yeah, Jesus, Gakpo, and Scamacca as a forward line signings.
Brilliant. Sounds good. I personally, I know I've tried to be like really positive throughout the show. I'm going to sound like I'm being doom and gloom now, but I'd be surprised if we got more than 3 players in. And when I say 3 players, I mean significant players. I don't mean the Marquinhoses of this world. I think there are extras. I think what would represent a realistic window for us, because, you know, we do keep hearing these rumors and these whispers that, you know, we are quite reliant on being able to sell again, which we keep hearing every summer, and it's really frustrating. And where I am getting a little bit frustrated, I have to admit, is that when that stuff keeps coming up after I've, you know, spent the last couple of summers being very understanding because of having to move people out, it does frustrate me. But I think if we could get Zinchenko in, but again, as I said before, I want him not to be a left back, but to be able to slot into that position in the event that we need him to. I want Tielemans and I want Gabriel Jesus. I think if we got those 3 major signings, I think that would be a step in the right direction. And it's not that I don't want more, it's that I don't realistically expect more. So that would kind of satisfy me in terms of at least us showing that we're moving in the right direction.
Where are your standards, Harry? Where are your standards? I mean, I'm doing this with chess.
But the other thing as well that I think, I do think the fullback thing is an issue. I really do. And obviously, you know, I don't want to say that Tomiyasu's injury prone, because I don't know enough about his history previously to say that. I think we can agree that Tierney is, though, and that's for sure. So I think that with Saliba coming back in, it does kind of give us a bit more options in that back line, because now you could potentially put Ben White at right back if you needed to. You could potentially move Tomiyasu out at left back if it was an emergency. Like, we've just got a little bit more wiggle room there as a result of that. So I think that the midfield and the striker position are, for me, what really, really needs addressing if we are indeed limited on what we can spend. Look, one more super chat, and then we're going to leave it there, because I know you guys have got a dash as well. Master Roshi says, I feel like a Brazilian renaissance is coming. Jesus, Rafinha, Danilo dos Santos, and then Hickey, Zinchenko, and Tielemans. Is this a good window? That would be a good window, but I think that's way more than we're going to get. Let's take this one from Wayne, who says, there was a period when fans were debating whether Tierney would get his place back in the squad. Neves was so, I think he meant Tavares, was so good. The same for Lokonga. Now, all of a sudden, those signings were trash. VJ says, Bissouma would not have come as backup since Tielemans seems to be the priority. Domestic and Europa League when he can start at Spurs. 4 days in the transfer window and there's already scandals. You guys are brilliant. Love this debate. Thank you so much, mate. Really, really do appreciate it. A couple of comments in the chat box that I've just seen, which I'm going to block. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to invite people onto my show and then sit there and watch them get people shouting nonsense at them in the chat. So you'll be gone. Like, simple as that. We don't tolerate it here. Not going to have it. And that's that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We've run out of time. Dan, thank you. Remind people again how they can follow you, how they can keep up to date with all the great stuff that you do.
Cheers, Harry. Always a pleasure, man. Great and love and respect for all of you lot, man. Love doing shows with you three in particular. At Dan Arsenal 87 on all socials, Insta as well now as Twitter. And if you come over on YouTube, you'll see me on AFTV, Lee Judges TV, or if you can, come and subscribe to my new channel, Football's 12th Man on YouTube. I believe the link is in the description somewhere. So that'd be great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, mate. Sophie, thank you so much for your time as always. Tell people about the Highbury squad and where they can find it.
The most important thing you'll learn on this show is Greeks even barbecue in the rain. Okay, there you go. There you have it.
Right.
At Highbury Squad, give us a listen over on YouTube. And just started a new show with Jess as well, kicking it with Soph and Jess, which we'll be doing on each of our channels. She knows Arsenal and Highbury Squad for this coming season. And you'll find me on TalkSport and Sky Sports every now and again. Thank you to all the kind people in chat who stimulated some really good conversation. Well done.
Thank you. Tom, same to you, mate.
Yeah, always a pleasure to join you three, absolute legends. And it sucks that Sophie's gone back, but I'm sure when she comes back over, we'll have some Greek
barbecue.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be necessary. So I look forward to that. But yeah, thank you for having me. As always, you can find me at the Gooner Talk TV at a ridiculously early time of 8 a.m. every day, keeping you up to date with all the latest Arsenal news. And of course, we usually do a show around 6 o'clock as well now in the afternoon for our obviously Western listeners that are fast asleep. Well, most of them when I'm doing the 8 a.m. show. So yeah, it was all good. But thank you again for having me on. And Chatbox, as Sophie said, you've been brilliant.
Fantastic stuff as always from all of you. Thank you all so
Was
so
that
much.
funny? Why are you laughing?
Go on then.
No, it just made. No, I won't go into it, man. It just made me laugh. It just made me laugh the way you said it.
It's my teacher voice again. You got brilliant. It's great.
Love it. Fantastic stuff. Thank you to every single one of you for tuning in. Thank you for all the kind super chats. Thank you for all the likes on the video and for all your good comments in the chat box. We'll be back very, very soon with more. We could have gone on all day, but we'll be back very soon. Take care. Goodbye.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.